Good evening and welcome to the meeting of the Pioneer Valley Regional School District School Committee. Today is Thursday, October 13th, 2022. This meeting is being held in the PVRS library and via Google Meet. The meeting is being held via Google Meet in accordance with the Act relative to extending certain state of emergency accommodations signed into law on July 16th, 2022. In addition, a link to view the school committee meeting will be on the website at www.pvrsdk12.org, or you may view it at www.facebook.com/BNC Television. The public is welcome to attend in person or to watch via the links above, but in the event of an issue with the links, and the public meeting in person shall continue to proceed. If you'd like to speak virtually via Google Meet during citizens' comments, please email citizenscomments@pvrsdk12.org. I will call the meeting to order. It is 7:04 p.m. Our first item is citizens' comments. Are there any citizens who would like to speak? Nope. Great. I don't see anyone. Approval of minutes from July 21st, 2022 meeting.
Raina?
Oh,
Roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. Roll call attendance. So we'll start off.
Melissa Gary, present.
David.
David Young is present.
Nathan Swartz present.
Jeannie Milton present. Karen O'Neill here.
Michelle Geruso present.
Stephanie Winslow here.
Alan Genovese present.
And Raina Dastu present. Thank you. All right, so now our minutes from July 21st, 2022.
I'd like to move the minutes of July 21st, 2022.
Do we have
I'll second.
and discussion? Any edits?
I'll second. You wait for somebody.
Do we have a second. Any edits or changes? Nope. All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and take a vote.
Melissa Gary, yes.
David Young, yes.
Nathan Swartz, yes.
Jeannie Milton, yes. Karen O'Neill, yes.
Michelle Geruso, yes.
Stephanie Winslow, yes.
Alan Genovese, yes.
And Raina Dastu, yes. All right.
Just a point of order for a minute. David, you had mentioned that if you had a quorum at a meeting, we didn't have to do roll call votes. Is
Well,
that accurate or
Do we
no?
have anybody in the call in the meeting?
No,
We do not.
we don't have
We
any
go back
members.
to the
for-
old way. There's no requirement for a roll call.
We could just raise our hand and
Yeah,
speed
yeah.
things
Done
up.
all these,
That is
all
an
these remote and
accommodation
hybrid
for
meetings.
remote.
Okay,
That's fancy.
all right, cool. All right. So moving on to the September 8th, 2022 minutes. Karen?
Okay. I noticed a few things, most of them small, but one larger one. I don't know whether to call this page 6 of 26 or page 1 of 3. On the first page.
Oh, yeah, I think the numbering is because of the way they
Right,
were attached to
right.
our emails. Mhm.
Down under number 4, sub number 3, second line, I think if you remove the word from, she shared feedback, not from feedback. Okay. Then on the next page, under 5.2, first line, thanked Bob Raymond for bringing this discussion back. And then on the very last line on this page, Gia Russo also thanked. And then on the last page, number 7, number 9, it seems to be incomplete at the end.
I have some suggested language for that.
Okay.
On that item, page 8 of 26, number 9, second line, it was noted that the curriculum coordinator /grants manager position would not be filled. At the end of the sentence, fourth line, will be hired to provide contracted services while the administration considers district needs related to the position. Yep. While the administration considers district needs related to the position. I have something, Karen, are you done?
Yeah.
I have something on the first page of those notes, which is page 6 of 26. Under reports, number 3, superintendent, 1, 2, 3, fourth line, the all-hands meeting, that should be the opening day meeting. Similarly, in the next line, opening day meeting.
I have another.
Go ahead.
The 7 of 26, Karen had brought the attention where it says bringing. If you go down to the next line, it should be were sent via email
Yeah.
instead of send. And then I wanted to ask if, was Bob Raymond present at that meeting when he was thanked?
No, I don't think so.
He was not, okay. And then it was mentioned that Tyler was thanked, and he was here, Tyler Corbo. So I would just suggest we include him, since we're calling him out, that we include his full name, and we put him as being present. Normally, we just put BNC TV, and that does it, but he was literally here and was recognized and thanked, so that would be, I think, helpful.
Any other changes? Okay.
I move that we accept the minutes as amended.
Great. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Which
Any opposed?
which minutes were those?
Unanimous?
What-
That's quick, okay. And then the meeting minutes of September 15th, 2022. Go ahead, Karen.
Under number 2, Kathy Malsh's name has a C in it. Male, SCH. And on the next page, second paragraph under number 3, second line, items with an asterisk which will need to be addressed, blah, blah, blah. Because I noted that they will, it doesn't make much sense without a which, I think.
Wait,
Second line, second paragraph, under asterisk.
On second thought, we don't need that.
No.
Well, we don't need that. Okay, that's it.
Any other corrections or changes? All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
A second?
I'll second.
And all in favor?
When you make the motion, can you please say which
Unanimously.
minutes? I'm really,
All right. So I will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I can't hear what's going on.
I move that we go into executive session according to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with PVREA teachers if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body and the chair so declares. And we will return to open session for a vote.
So the agenda, the revised, this was the revised agenda, I think that, so the ones that were printed. apologize.
So I'll second
Oh,
that, but
yeah.
first the chair should indicate that you're so ruling.
Okay, yes, I so
Based on
rule
the chair's call,
that we will, yes.
and I second.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I guess we just do a show of hands for, any discussion?
I'm looking at it.
We have to,
Yes.
okay, all right. All right, so then any discussion before we vote?
I have a question. Should I be participating in this one?
I think you should probably not participate.
Okay.
All right, so,
Melissa Gary, yes.
David Young, yes.
Nathan Swartz, yes.
Jeannie Milton, yes.
Karen O'Neill abstain.
Michelle Drew, so yes.
Stephanie Winslow, yes.
Alan Genovese, yes.
and Raina Dasty, yes.
I would like to amend that to include Superintendent Patricia Kinsella and Jordan Burns, our dynamic financial person, into the meeting with us.
Make it a superlative.
Well, no, let's just, you agree?
Yes.
The motion, you're adding it? I agree.
Oh,
No amendments.
Okay.
I'll agree to that.
All right. So I guess we will relocate to our room for the executive session. And then we will So thank you. Are the mics on? No.
The rain is.
We may have to use in
Oh,
case
there we go.
lose
Okay.
power to-
Yeah, we might lose
wasn't-
power.
I think it's.
So we're back? Okay, well, welcome back to open session. There was an error in the agenda. There were no items that we were discussing for a vote for this evening from the executive session. So we will not be voting at this time. So our next item is our reports. Do we have a student representative?
Not yet, there's another discussion tomorrow
Okay. So
about student representatives.
All right, so we eagerly anticipate our new student rep. Anne, yes? Can you hear me, Anne?
Are you muted?
Oh,
It is there,
It looks like you're muted.
yeah.
bottom of the screen.
She should be able,
She's telling you.
okay, she should be able to hear me through the mics, but if I'm unmuted, it echoes. Are you able to hear us, Anne?
Yeah, it's a little echoey, but I think when you're muted on your computer, it'll probably be better.
Okay, yep. Did you have a question? No? Okay. All right, I guess not. Okay. All right. So the chair's report, I was hoping to welcome Jennifer Coffin, our new representative from Bernardston this evening. but she
Actually, I'm
is-
not hearing anything when
Now
your
it's okay.
computer
Okay.
is muted,
All right.
so.
All right, let me see. Can you hear me now? Ooh,
Yep,
there's a big echo, though.
yep, big echo.
So but she can't hear me if I unmute the laptop.
But she's not getting the mic mute.
What do you think? Anne, can you hear me now? Anne, can you hear me? You can hear me without,
I can hear
When
you
I'm-
on the computer.
you can hear me on the computer, but not when I'm muted.
Well, try muting again.
Okay, how's that? Can you hear
Yep,
me?
not hearing anything when you're muted.
Okay.
Okay, do you want some?
What about a different mic?
Are you able to hear from this mic, Ann?
Not hearing anything from any of the
No, okay.
mics.
We're working on it.
If she sends a phone number via the chat, I'm going to open up my phone. If you want someone to take minutes.
It'll be recorded.
Yeah. That's, yeah.
In the event there's an issue with the link.
Shall we continue?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. So Chair's report, I was going to try to welcome Jennifer Coffin, our new representative from the town of Bernardston. She's traveling for work this evening, so couldn't join us. She will be here next week. I think I speak for the whole committee. We appreciate her stepping up. And there's also in the town of Bernardston, Gretchen Kelton, who will also be running as a write-in candidate. And I haven't heard of any write-in candidates for Leiden or Warwick seats. Anyone heard from Northfield? Okay, all right. So there's some vacant seats in the other three towns, so feel free to step up if you want to come along. All right, Superintendent's report?
Superintendent's report. I'd like to remind our community of 3 upcoming events. This weekend is Scarecrow in the Park. Please go and enjoy the fantastic scarecrows that our Bernardston Elementary students and faculty are making. I can't wait to head over there and see those. Gosh, you might notice the props in front of me. Now, why does the superintendent have bucket loaders, little bucket loaders that fit on top of bigger vehicles and mini dump trucks? Well, I'm helping Cooper Bullock and the Pioneer Land Stewardship Club on Saturday, October 22nd, starting at 9 o'clock until 4 o'clock. We are going to move between 500 and 700 cubic yards of wood chips. So this is your chance to strut your side-by-side ATV, mini bucket loader, forklifty, whatever you call those things. I know. No, there's another one. Skid steer, would that work? A skid steer? For real. So we are looking for community members, we're looking for families, we're looking for local snowmobile clubs who know how to work on trails. Our towns, thank you, select boards, thank you, Warwick. Warwick has hundreds of yards of material, I think, that one of the other towns is bringing down. So there's, Cooper Bullock is coordinating with the DPW heads, getting us hundreds of yards of material. Gretchen's marking out where it will be dumped over the next week. And then on that Saturday, we put online that it would be both days, but let's see if we can get it done in one day, right? Kids, families, come out, help us move stuff. We will have hot apple cider. We'll have baked potatoes with all the fixings. Bring your wheelbarrows, bring your shovels, bring your empty kitty litter containers so that you can put stuff into the electric vehicles. Okay.
Awesome.
And then the next week, we will enjoy that beautiful refurbished path with the first annual Forest Lights Lantern Parade. I heard today from the Northfield Public Library, they are going to sponsor a lantern-making event for kids. We're getting our hands on recycled bottles. We've put out a little link to how to make these lanterns. Some of our classes will be making lanterns. So more to come, and you might guess what my props will be next week for school committee. You betcha. So that's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, our Director of Finance report, Jordan.
Okay, I'm going to start with the green money packet here. Give everyone a chance to get that out. And as I have the past couple of meetings, I'm just going to go over some of the budget balances, new budget balances that are negative. We have more information regarding salaries, so that's changed some things. But I'm going to start on page 15 of 26. And there's a large negative for the tuition, school choice, charter school budget line. That actually will be much smaller once a journal entry or a change to the PO is done. The PO is actually larger than the amount. In reality, the negative balance is only $33,000, and that's just estimates that have changed, state estimates that have changed since the original budget. So it's a negative balance, but certainly not 115,000. It's closer to 33,000. And then moving on to page 16. There is a negative balance in the classroom instructional assistance line of $10,138.53. And that really is a result of when the budget is being created, the precise allocation of classroom instructional assistants and special needs instructional assistants isn't the actual allocation that happened. So ultimately, as you can see, the next line is special needs instructional assistance, which has a positive balance of $62,248.27. So that's really just ultimately those two lines together have a positive balance, so they're not under budgeted, but at the time of the budget, less classroom instructional assistants were assumed at Bernardston. And I think for all the salary numbers, it's important to also take into account the fact that the agreement with either of the unions aren't ratified, so the amount that's encumbered is not the ultimate amount that will ultimately be paid. So these numbers will continue to change. As you know, once we have ratified agreements, those numbers will change again. On page 17, this is a little more interesting. I don't want to bore people, so I try to have an interesting point here. So for teachers' salaries at Northfield, there is a negative $44,879.95 balance. And I went through all the budgeting documents, and I noticed that a teacher was just left off, was not budgeted for. But that teacher does in fact exist, and is being paid. I think importantly, we picked up on the error and remedied it, and you can't be 100% certain, but I'm quite certain this year's budget won't have that type of shortcoming. But I think it's worth noting that happened, and we'll remedy it and be able to make the appropriate transfers. But yes, there was in fact a person who wasn't budgeted for. And similar to the mention at Bernardston, at Northfield, there's a negative balance in the special needs instructional assistants, but a positive balance in the classroom instructional assistants. So again, it's really just that allocation of the classroom instructional assistants versus the special needs instructional assistants, and that may have just been during the budgeting process, not allocating appropriately the IAs to the appropriate salary line, possibly not being familiar with that. But again, I am quite confident. I've already had a number of meetings in our budgeting, and I'm quite confident that in the future our salary lines will be budgeted appropriately. And then moving on to page 21.
Can I just ask a question?
Of course.
I wasn't going to ask, but how can this happen? Doesn't payroll have to reconcile every month or so? The treasurer or, who does there's a payroll clerk, but the
Yeah.
treasurer is ultimately responsible for that also?
And in terms of, I just want to clarify your question. In terms of this, do you mean having a negative balance in a satellite or?
Yeah, the
or-
teacher, the missing teacher.
Right. So it was budgeted. So the budget number, that's why there's a negative number, is because the budget number is wrong. So the salary payroll person is doing stellar work and paying everyone appropriately. So therefore, there's a negative balance because the person wasn't in the budget. However, they are being paid appropriately. Therefore, there's a negative.
Right, but doesn't the payroll?
I wouldn't think, I mean, this is where it showed up.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
showed the budget, we have the actuals, it showed up. But the point I want to make, probably for the 15th time, is that school budgets need to start with comprehensive schedule. Had our budgeting started with a comprehensive schedule, we would have known how many damn classrooms we were running. Start with a comprehensive schedule. At the high school, you have your sections and whatever, and then you budget from there. And if you do it that way, you'll catch all the teachers that are working for you.
Okay. All right. I won't ask anything. Thanks.
Of course. All questions are welcome. And so I wanted to look at the special needs therapy OT PT line. This was another budgeting mistake, I would say, is probably the appropriate word. So there is a person who was who went from a 0.75 to a 1.0 FTE. And to my knowledge, that was known but was not incorporated into the budget from what I have looked at and researched. So there's a negative balance there. And obviously, at the appropriate time, all the negative balances will be taken care of. I just think it's important to look at them, acknowledge their existence, and research why they've happened to hopefully inform our FY24 budgeting process and improve it. And the next one that hadn't been discussed previously, the special needs psychologists has a large negative balance, and those staff were originally there was going to be a large ESSER 3 offset. We may fund that differently. So I haven't yet put those people onto the grant, and we may fund it differently. I think Karen has a question.
Yes, does this line refer to the behaviorists?
Yes, they are included in that line.
Thank you.
Yep.
Does our budget include any contingency?
For
Like unallocated, so when you hit the wall like this, you have money without,
so I think that in that respect, there are multiple contingencies. There are the offsets. So none of the offsets have been applied at this point because I think I mentioned in a previous one, I want to look strategically at the best way to actually offset rather than just mechanically following what was originally established, because I think that there are potentially, modestly, I would say, potentially better or more efficient ways to do the offsets than was originally set forth. So at this point, I've all the expenses are on the general fund. So that's a large contingency in our budget. Obviously, is all of the offsets, and I would say a second contingency, of course, are the significant amount of positive balances, right? Where potentially because of open positions, inability to fill positions, there'll be positive amounts. And, again, as many, not to be critical, but as many small mistakes are made that create negative balances, there are, one can assume that there are also small errors in the other direction. And I have identified those where they do exist. So, budgets aren't perfect. So I think that those are the contingencies.
Well, I would argue for a single contingency line at towns, it's the reserve fund, the control of the finance committee. And the effect of having that is that we don't have as much pressure to gin up every account just in case. So we have a collective place to go where if our budgeting turns out to be erroneous and these mistakes aren't that significant. They're less than 1% of our budget, I think. But rather than possibly, intentionally over budgeting on things, because let's just have a line.
Sure. And I think depending on the budget, and depending on the way people decide to do that, I think sometimes the amount of excess and deficiency that's appropriated is that amount, is the contingency. And I think from what I've examined, I don't think that there's an effort to stealing your words because they're good and interesting. Gin up a ton of lines. So I think that in that respect, it's good. I know our specific amount of appropriated excess and deficiency was not necessarily determined as a contingency, but I've seen that used in some places.
We
where
just don't have as much latitude given our probation.
Right.
So I would just suggest going forward, because this is a small district, and many superintendents have this in the office, that you have, I see this as significant because it ties to the educational plan of your district. So there should be going forward and doing the budget, a list of all your professional staff, their names, their positions, and how much they're making, which is a separate document, as well as your paraprofessionals. I remember the superintendent in Pittsfield used to have all their names on a board in the office and would put them up, and if someone was replaced or gone, they would keep, so he knew everyone by heart. But going into this budget process, one of the ways we can get around that is have that document so we can physically see, what the changes are and which ones are blank because they're not filled or not planning to be filled. And then whoever's on the budget subcommittee can just keep matching that up. It's a comprehensive tic-tac-toe kind of thing to keep track of, but the more documentation you have, the less likely these kind of things will happen.
Sure. Agreed. And I think last year was a difficult year because of the time that the financial management company came in, the time of year. My process, full disclosure, is to every time, or at least every couple of weeks that we have payroll, to update both our current year actual budget and how things are going to happen and our FY24 budget. So I have a rough outline of the FY24 budget. Obviously, many things will change, but the people, for the most part, will not change. And so that's my process, is to continually, if someone's getting paid, to make sure that they're included in both this, because I have a running budget that is not the budget that was approved because things have changed. So with every person and new assumptions. So that's my process, is to make sure that you take every single person that got paid and make sure they're on the correct salary line, and that they're budgeted for. And that's how I discovered reconciling those two things and tying them out, to the dollar, that there was a person.
Good work.
Well,
Thank you.
We'll see.
Yeah, I didn't that's what I was trying to say. Who's reconciling after the payroll? I didn't think it would be you. I thought it would be the treasurer or the payroll person or someone. I didn't think it was you personally, but that's what I'm used to,
Yeah.
you know?
And I think possibly there wasn't, again, speculatively, I would say possibly during the development process, there wasn't that working hand in glove with the appropriate people to develop the budget. Possibly there wasn't
Okay.
sufficient time. Not to make an accusation, just possibly there was time pressures that made that difficult. And that's it for the expenditures, unless there's additional questions.
So one of the themes seems to be the custodial supply lines are all over. Is that as a result of additional cleaning, sanitizing, or so forth?
No, so I haven't returned to the lines that I mentioned previously, but I know it can be disconcerting to see those. And that's just for whatever reason, there was a choice made that a lot of those things were put on to ESSER 3. And I'm not certain that that's the way forward. So right now I'm just putting it on the general fund, but eventually I'll take care of that.
All right, thank you.
And just, one thing with the running tally with having an active FY23 and knowing where you're at, one thing you want to make sure is that you have sufficient resources to fund everything. So that's kind of, I know the offsets, we have sufficient resources to fund the education plan. It's just how to deploy them is still being determined.
Thank you.
We only have one budget transfer, and that was, it's not a budget transfer in the real sense. It's just to rectify a account code. The superintendent's salary was originally going to be from a 1200 function code, but that's not the appropriate function for superintendent. It's 1210, a small thing, but I just wanted to remedy that error for reporting purposes to ensure that that when we're doing the end of year report, that's reported appropriately. All right, on to the lunch report.
May I ask a question?
Of course.
About the revenue report? I don't know.
Yes.
Under tuition, does this refer to Vernon tuitions?
Yes.
And nothing else, no school choice, just Vernon?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so for the lunch report, I was going to focus on the report, the larger grid that is titled Lunch Report September 2022, that has the red and black numbers. And if I may, I'm going to provide a summary analysis first, and then certainly open to specific questions, but I thought it potentially wasn't the best use to read every number aloud, despite how much I like talking. So the overall revenue earned in September, and this is an accrual basis. We haven't actually received these reimbursements yet, but this is based on participation and assumed reimbursement on the new reimbursement formula. So the total revenue would be $54,801.80. Total expenditures for the month, $62,841.77. And I know, yep, that's a negative $8,039.97 for the month. Which would be bad if I didn't provide important context. And I know people are sensitive to this issue, and there's a saying in Chinese, I'm only going to do this once, but that when you're bitten by a snake once, you're scared of coiled rope for 10 years, or the rope to a well. So,
And how does one say that in Chinese?
really, it's 被蛇咬怕今生10年.
I thought so, thank you.
Yes. Hopefully Chow's watching to critique my pronunciation. So the reason for most of the negative is several factors. We installed new dishwashers at Bernardston and Northfield. So that was approximately $13,000. So right there already covers the negative. However, there were also additional purchases of laptop computers because to improve the functioning of our point of sale inventory purchasing, the computers were becoming long in the tooth.
How many computers was that, Jordan?
There were 5 computers, I believe.
Major appliances are not the responsibility of the town as capital?
No, that's ours.
Oh, well, over in Warwick, when we had a school, we got to pay for wallpaper, window treatment, all as capital expense.
Generally, those are applied from your excess amounts that you have in your school lunch program fund. They want you to use them to upgrade your kitchen.
So right, some purchase of computers, dishwashers, these, I guess, out of the ordinary one-time expenses total over $16,000. So going forward, gosh, I really doubt we're hopefully not buying dishwashers every month or computers. So my anticipation is that the school lunch fund will be able to have a significant profit or surplus each month. And I also thought it would be informative to look at participation in terms of total meals served between the 3 buildings for total breakfast and lunch. Some of these, well, one of the numbers the school committee doesn't have, but so total lunch and breakfast served on the DESI claim report, sorry, the backside of this, for September is 14,804 meals. Hopefully everyone can follow along there. Whereas last September, the total number of meals served was 14,495. So within a small difference, the participation seems to be very similar. So I think that's important to allay any fears that things are going negatively. Participation seems to be very good, similar and exceeding last year, in fact. And last year's September revenue was $51,029.36. And this year's is anticipated to be $54,258.25. So again, all things point to continued strong performance from the school lunch fund. And I think it's important to mention as well that we have a bank balance that can support several months of operation. So the health of the school lunch fund is strong at the moment, so that's good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next item of business, Warwick transition.
Yes.
Be second reading.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry.
Yeah.
Has everyone read the transition and the tuition agreement? Did you have time? It's in your packet, but I didn't know if you read it. And this is the second reading. of those two documents? Does anyone have any questions? Do we want to vote on them?
And do we need to vote separately, or would we vote them?
I think
Guess
we
that's
should
a
vote
point of
separately.
wait,
What do you
separately.
think?
I agree.
Yeah, I think,
Yes.
that makes more sense.
Okay. What about in my packet, the transition agreement is first. How about,
I move that we approve this draft Warwick I move that we approve this draft Warwick transition agreement of October 13th, 2022.
Melissa? Any discussion?
If we vote it, we'll strike draft.
Yes.
yeah,
I believe so. All right. We're ready to, you want to start the vote?
Melissa Gary, yes.
David Young, yes.
Nathan Swartz, yes.
Jeannie Milton, yes.
Karen O'Neill, yes.
Michelle Drew, so yes.
Stephanie Winslow, yes.
Alan Genovese, yes.
And Raina Dastu, yes. So that passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone.
And the draft tuition?
Could I ask for just a small change? Just adding two-letter word on page 4. On page 4,
In the tuition
Of the
agreement?
tuition?
yep.
Which one?
Tuition.
On page 4, number 2, the second bullet, it reads, devices, equipment, and software not currently available within PVRSD, including the ongoing cost to inspect, remain, repair, and train those staff. I don't think we inspect, maintain, and repair the staff. So I would like to add the word, and to train those staff who work with the student.
Good call.
I didn't catch it before, I'm sorry.
We always count on you. So are you making the motion with?
I make a motion that we approve this Warwick transition agreement of October 13th, 2022. Amended, as amended,
And that would be the tuition agreement.
tuition agreement.
Second.
Tired.
Thank you, David. Any further discussion? And so we'll go ahead and vote.
Melissa Gary, yes.
David Young, yes.
Nathan Swartz, yes.
Jeannie Milton, yes.
Karen O'Neill, yes.
Michelle Drew, so yes.
Stephanie Winslow, yes.
Alan Genovese, yes.
And Raina Dastu, yes. All right, so that passes unanimously.
Yay. What a milestone.
Yes.
What a milestone. Congratulations.
And what I forgot to tell this committee is, since the last time we met, PVRSD had to find a lawyer, and Warwick had their own lawyer. And when we met last week, we were shocked that the two lawyers agreed pretty much. They were very minimal.
With us.
Yeah,
Yeah, they-
with us. They were very
I
minimal
thought most
changes.
significant was,
Yeah.
what a good document we passed over for their, and you know me, I'm not a fan of group writing. It worked.
It
did.
Well, that definitely is a credit to all of the people and all the work that went into this document. To have it go to attorneys and take a look at it and say, basically, wow, this is, maybe you've created a model or something for others, but kudos to everyone that's worked on
Yeah,
this.
thanks.
Good job.
I think we also uncovered a couple very valuable, knowledgeable school council types. Both the one working for Warwick and the one working for the district were both impressive to me.
The lawyers.
Yeah.
They were wonderful. I was really impressed. And I was impressed at how, and appreciated how they interacted with each other as well. They were sharp intellectually and careful. They had teams behind them because you could see different people's names, and they weren't trying to do a one-ups personship. They were just direct and trying to get, yes, they were great. Yep.
And I would like to put a plug in for how collaboratively the whole committee worked. It was really, and it's not over yet.
Nope.
We meet tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow at 9 a.m.
So, yeah,
Another document.
it's, even though it's hard to sit in your chair for 3 hours, the time passed quickly because people were on point and were always generous with each other.
So the next one is draft of the retiree cost participation agreement. This is your first reading. This has probably been the most difficult document. We used to call it the XYZ, and David came up, and Diana, actually. I know you're going to have questions, so I would like to invite Diana Noble from Warwick so she can explain and answer any questions, I think, between her and David.
Can I, just a point of order, just for my own.
Is that
record
okay
here.
if I invite Diana?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So would the chair be entertaining a motion before we move off those by the committee to authorize the chair to sign the tuition and the
Oh, I need to
transition
reprint.
agreement? Pardon?
I need to reprint them so they don't have draft.
Oh, no, I understand that, but we know that what the content is and so forth, so.
Well, we voted
do we
for
need
it,
a-
so that gives,
That's-
that sort of does,
Yeah.
that's supposed
Okay, I
to.
want to make
But
sure
we could
that.
specifically vote it.
Okay, that there wasn't a technical issue with just doing a vote and so forth, because it's.
Yeah, the committee approved, so that I think that.
You're the representative of the
I would be
committee.
the representative of the
All
committee.
right, and that would be in the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so has everyone read this? Does someone have questions? Do you want us to go through the whole document? It is pretty lengthy.
I'll just say it is lengthy and detailed, and it is the most complex of the three, but at its core, it's very simple. It's, Warwick is, agreeing to continue to pay for the teachers and staff that have educated his kids, to make sure that their retirement is taken care of. And that's really the core of it. The lawyers did all this, and they did the rest, and, but that's really.
So maybe we should look at the last page, which is really what Nathan is, it's the entire summary and what Nathan is pointing to.
The chart?
The chart.
The chart.
Yeah.
That's really good that you have the algorithm in there of how that's calculated. That's really good work.
So that algorithm is represented on the last page in attachment A in that table, and it's represented in words as well.
And I take it the asterisk in the formula means multiplied by? Yeah, and that's in the body as well. That kind of threw me off a little bit at first.
Yep, payment formula.
No one has any questions?
So to clarify, so that this covers any retirees from the district through
23.
20, yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
I'm trying to come up with.
Diana, I wonder
So
if
July-
it would help for you to
June
do a
30th,
two-sentence
2023.
explanation of who's covered by this?
Yeah.
So what we tried to do is put numbers to the idea that we're paying our portion, of any of the benefit that folks have earned through the end of this current year, so through June 30th, 2023. Of course, some folks have earned some benefits that they will not be able to take part in for many, many years. And that's what this formula is all about, is continuing to have Warwick pay the portion that was earned before the end of this fiscal year, June 30, 2023.
So it doesn't just apply to those who have already retired.
Correct.
It's including
Yep.
any benefit, retirement benefit that an employee is entitled to up
Yeah.
until that.
So for example, if somebody has worked half of their career, when we get to June 30, 2023, Warwick will pay their 8.6% of that half. That's what the math is.
Yeah, thank you.
And then that continues until the last survivor.
Right, so
figure about
this is
100
decades of,
years.
So just to make,
Realistically.
that point is made, that this is an obligation that we understand goes over many years until the last survivor.
Yeah.
If it's written out, so I'm on page 3, the payment formula, what Karen brought up. It is bizarre that they're using formula. So for example, 5.1B, total years of service as an eligible employee through 6/30/23 divided. So is this typical of not spelling it out, actually writing it out? Like a mathematical equation, right? It would be written out, multiplied by, plus.
Well, it says divided by, that's what the
Well,
forward
it has
slash is.
No, that,
You're talking about a symbol versus the
a symbol
words.
versus words,
Yeah.
right?
Well, if
So in the formula, it has divided, the formula, if I was in an
formula
Excel sheet,
has a forward slash, I think, for divide.
right, but it's symbolic of divided. I'm saying it's odd that the symbol is used as opposed to language, words, words,
Yeah.
right? So,
Right.
you know, in a math book, you would have 8 multiplied by, if it was a word problem, it wouldn't say 8x 2. So that's what, I think Karen pointed to it, and I just reviewed it, and I also thought that was bizarre. It's fine, you can keep the formula in there. I'm just curious, years down the road, if people are gonna be looking for an asterisk at the end of the document, possibly for an explanation.
So are you suggesting that in parentheses after B, they just use the words to spell out what the formula was?
What the symbol stands.
What,
Yeah.
so it's words
Yeah,
to
like you
spell
write
that right
it.
out? Sure.
Yeah, you write out a mathematical problem.
Well,
right?
these expressions are what you would use in a spreadsheet, like 1, 2, 3 or Excel.
Yeah.
And as we become more digital, I think the asterisk for multiply and the forward slash for divide is going to be more lasting in the future than the divide by symbol that we learned in first grade, whatever it was.
I think it's a
I'm-
good
But
point.
whatever.
though.
I mean,
It's not, it's not,
think it's
it's
a good
not,
point.
I'm
You
just,
say
yeah.
$12,000 and then you spell it out, $12,000, let's do it both. Get rid of
Yeah,
the.
I think it's a good point, in that some people are just literal and they would just read it and it makes sense, where others just,
Especially because it's articulated in the amendment,
right.
Yeah,
in the attachment.
right.
It's just, it's not a stop.
So I'm going to try out some language. So on page 3 of the retiree cost participation agreement, section 5.1, item A, I don't know what you call a bracket, net cost of GIC expenses, the plus sign, good? Is that okay?
Or plus.
I mean,
You want the word
Yeah.
plus?
You would
ELU
follow the
does.
same,
Yeah.
if you're going to
Plus-
change
yeah,
it, you would
plus-
follow
Okay.
everything.
I just want to make
Yeah.
sure I'm
Yeah.
Yeah, then-
plus equals B bracket through divided by total years of service equals the percentage, like that's, do you want the word percentage?
Yeah, you could, do some, if, I guess they don't know what that percent sign means. I would just spell out each one of
Yeah,
these
use
symbols to a
English
word.
In one
Use-
version,
Yeah.
and symbols, math symbols in the other.
Well, I would just follow it with a,
Why couldn't you have
Okay,
I would just follow it with parentheses, with the words
mean,
spelled out under each one of these.
instead of,
So it's, they don't have to hunt around for it, it's right
okay,
there.
I'll try it out and I'll send it to the attorneys for review.
What is the bracket,
I
Diana?
know, what would you do for?
Well, because you do inside, yeah,
No, I know.
but it looks like you would have something else after if we're doing a formula. It's bizarre.
I'll try something out, and I'll have the subcommittee's meeting tomorrow morning. We'll work on it, and we'll send it to the attorneys for review, and this is great feedback, because this is a first reading, so there's an opportunity to revise things.
could you also have a separate bullet that the plus sign, this equals plus, and the backslash equals divide?
So you want a
Because it
key.
No, it would be replaced, I think.
Well, but if you, but then you have to go through and do it for all of them.
Yeah,
Well,
correct.
just,
But if there was
That much.
like a glossary or a whatever, that would show what each symbol stood for.
I think the subcommittee can probably try out
Yeah,
one or
I
two
know.
different things, and we could even, in the next draft, give two options, and the committee could guide us, could make a decision.
Do keep in mind that this is the sort of document that accountants and lawyers and folks that are going to be familiar with this language. I mean, I thought it was elegant. I had like blather about the, and they
I have to agree.
just very succinctly referred to before, June 30th. You don't have to just say before June 30th, it's this way, and after it.
I mean, you're right about that. The people that are gonna use this are the ones that, this is exactly how they're gonna do it.
They're going to stand
They're
there. Why
gonna
did they
just-
write this out? We're not
Yeah,
English
yeah.
majors. What's going on here?
And our readers have said that they would appreciate some confirmation and clarification. So the subcommittee will try tomorrow,
Yeah.
and we'll bring it back to you for the second reading.
Yeah.
Are there other aspects?
Other questions? And we will bring this back for a second read after the lawyers look at it again.
Okay.
Probably next meeting. Will it be next week?
Yeah, we can bring it, we could bring it next week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
This is, the memo is separate, and are there any questions about the memo? That was designed to
Oh,
help
the memo.
the school committee be able to evaluate the tuition agreement in its second reading.
So on to our next item of business. It is 8:50. Our policy manual, final discussion and vote.
okay. Included in your packet are some reminders about policies that will be moved to other places or will require additional work by the school committee. So, and when we had the first reading, I asked people to contact me or someone else on the policy subcommittee if they had questions that they wanted answers to before this meeting or at this meeting, and I received none. So,
Get any?
except that Stephanie had one thing that we missed, and the policy which spoke about indigent children, families, it was there twice, and we only corrected it once. So when it goes back to Tracy, that will be included. Okay? Yeah.
Just some light reading.
Oh, my goodness.
So just to follow up on that, if I could, so with this document, Patricia, your team is maybe highlighting in yellow the ones that you feel the school committee should be looking at sooner than later? Maybe it's something you could,
Sorry, say that again, Ellen?
so is your team looking at the ones that were highlighted, that were unfinished, or others that you would like to be on our docket, so to speak, sooner than later? Have you had a chance to kind of?
So I have paused all work by my admin team on this. I felt I was given clear direction that the subcommittee did not want feedback until after the policy manual was voted. So
Correct.
once it is voted, yes, we will return to looking at,
Yep.
in order of priority, which are the policies we would ask that
Yeah,
the,
thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Are there any questions? Okay. Is it time for the big vote?
The big vote.
Yeah.
So to clarify, we will be voting to accept the new manual as revised by the subcommittee and as presented. And then the work
Right.
will continue on the new manual to revise and refine that one as well.
Yep.
So Karen, why don't you do the honors, since you coordinated, did so much work in this?
Well, I move that we, as a school committee, accept the revised policy manual with the understanding that it's a living document and that there will be changes made as we move along, some of them in the next month or two.
Second.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, shall we?
All in favor? Do we have
Oh, yeah.
any online?
No, we have, we do not have any members online. Thank you
Yeah,
for a reminder.
that's right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
congratulations.
And that passed unanimously.
And this was what, 3 years for you, Karen, working on this?
4.
Wow.
Well, since we got Tracy, maybe 2.5, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we started on it
Good job.
right away.
Great. Thank you. So any other business not anticipated for our posting? I don't have any other business, so our subcommittee reports, the negotiation subcommittee, I think I mentioned before that we've reached a tentative agreement with PVASP, and that agreement is subject to ratification by both parties. We had another mediation session with the PVREA, and we're hopeful that we're very close to reaching a fair and fiscally responsible tentative agreement with that group as well. We offered two options for another mediation session, October 17th and November 1st, and PVREA selected the November 1st date, so that is our next meeting with them. Buildings and grounds?
Quick question.
Yep.
The other business not anticipated,
Mhm.
is that the document that was also in our packet? Or what is,
What document?
we have a document about
The memo?
the memo.
Oh,
Oh, she's-
that was just
I miss
reference
that?
for
FYI.
informational.
Yeah.
Oh,
for the tuition
yes, I know.
payment document.
Yes, I was just talking about that, saying,
Oh, I missed
Yeah.
that, sorry.
that's okay. No, did you have a, I don't want to go out of
Nope,
order.
I must have.
I was saying that we had prepared it in light of the questions raised at recent school committee meetings and to answer those questions in an effort to help get the tuition agreement passed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So update for buildings and grounds, we have a meeting scheduled for this coming Monday at 7 o'clock here and remote as we offer. The agenda is going to be building safety and security. We're going to have a review and make sure there's been some things we want to review as a subcommittee that some of the community has brought forward and also some of our members. And making sure we're all on the same page with that. We're also going to be reviewing buildings and grounds roles and responsibilities. One of the things I've noticed in general is our subcommittees typically I haven't found like a mission or like what is the responsibilities of these subcommittees. That hasn't been drafted anywhere. And so I want to make sure that buildings and grounds has that. That policy lines up with facilities, that lines up with MASC. So there's some stuff that I'm going to be bringing to that meeting. And then the good old catch-all of other items not anticipated that will be happening. So if anyone has any interest in any of those topics, feel free to join us.
May I comment on that? If it doesn't exist, every subcommittee should have a mission on terms of what are their responsibilities and what they do. So there should be one for policy and curriculum and for budgeting and yours. So if that doesn't exist, I would encourage those that are sitting on those committees to craft up a paragraph that, so if someone has an interest in, maybe I want to serve on this, they can go to a source document and read it to find out what is it that they would be doing. Yes, I have an interest in that, or no, I don't.
There is some in the policy document, in our policy manual, but it's
Not very.
it's not accurate. It's not.
Yep.
I
agree.
So I think, as just a general statement with our subcommittees, I think a lot of work could be done. I would also like to see our subcommittees have regular planned out calendars, meetings, just like our general committee. So if Budget and Grounds decides as a subcommittee to meet on this date, then they put a couple months in advance of dates and times, and so community members are aware. I think some housekeeping needs to really be done amongst our subcommittees.
I think that forward planning that you're talking about is a great idea. It fits better with some subcommittees than others do. So, and people's lives as well.
Totally, and it depends on members. You know, we're
Right.
working with it with the budget right now, and it's beyond helpful for everybody included. And if other subcommittees, that's how I get started, is I came to a policy subcommittee in January. You know, as a citizen, because something came up. Similar with buildings and grounds, something's come up with a community member, and they're going to come to our subcommittee, and we're going to have a discussion, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Curriculum and personnel?
Well, I'm going to defer to Stephanie for the first part of this because I was unable to make that last meeting.
Yes, Karen was enjoying her daughter's wedding.
Yay.
So we met to discuss 3 MOAs that the superintendent presented to us, which we will bring to the full committee at some point
Next week.
next week. There we go.
Yes. And we are planning a meeting for next Tuesday, at which we will discuss, following the letter from Cooper Bullock about portfolios, we'll discuss the suspension of the portfolio requirement for seniors this year, and possibly a stay on that suspension for another year after that.
I have a conflict. What time is that meeting? You said next Tuesday, which is the 18th. Okay.
All right. Budget subcommittee.
Budget Subcommittee met this Tuesday. As Melissa said, we looked at a calendar, but I would like to report that out next week. And you can all have the calendar ahead of time, as well as some other housekeeping things we have to do in the future.
That's good. All right. District agreement? Anything new?
Oh, district agreement, we haven't met, but now that Warwick is coming to an end, the district agreement subcommittee will have to reconvene.
And I skipped over policy, but I
Coming to an end?
So
we dealt with policy and then
the strange tenets of our district agreement. So Warwick is, leaving. We appreciate the vote, but Warwick will, provided this happens by the end of this fiscal year, Warwick would be in the vote on the new district, even though it doesn't intend to be in it. That's weird. Just thought I'd leave it with you. We'll go along.
it is an interesting conundrum, isn't it? We'll go along. Sounds good.
Tell us how to vote. Okay.
We'll discuss it.
Yeah.
I think in this case.
I've had 8 years experience.
Any personnel?
I'm going to bring the staff changes for the past month and the student enrollment update next week.
Okay. Any other miscellaneous updates?
So I had a question. I am having trouble signing the warrant. I just wanted to make sure. Are we getting enough signatures on there to make them Is anyone else having trouble doing that?
I don't like it.
No,
Everybody's fine with that?
I did it for anything, but now the last couple.
just
Ellen?
finding time to read it all
Yeah.
in 2 days or whatever.
Do you want to bring the device that you use at home to read it into school one day and
Yeah, why don't I
maybe
do
sit
that?
with Jordan and he could observe what's happening?
Yeah.
Sorry to
I
volunteer. you.
find that the most common barrier to me getting into a Google Meet or opening a Google Doc is I have 5 Gmail accounts. And Pioneer is a Gmail account.
Yeah,
Warwick Broadband is a Gmail
Yeah.
account.
Yeah.
Even, it's branded, but it still is. They want you to log into the browser with,
yeah,
you
the
know,
correct one.
with your school.
Yeah.
So don't try anything till you do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I have no problem. I do
I
Google
know, I
Docs
have-
with the town of Warwick all the time with the treasurer. And so it's really easy to read.
But that's
through
not
it.
that's not in the
Correct.
Google
No.
family.
Right.
That's in the,
Mm-hmm.
what is that?
Adobe.
No, it's DocuSign.
Yeah,
You know,
DocuSign, right.
subscription service and
That's so easy.
yes.
So maybe I can call you and,
Sure. And alternatively, people, as long as they can see the warrant, I have confirmation that it's acceptable to reply just via email, approved, and then we'll have the warrant at the subsequent school committee meeting, and then
oh,
you
that's
could
true. I
sign.
could send you a,
How much are we saving?
And so I have,
yeah.
How much are we saving going on the cheap?
I don't
I
know.
remember when the pandemic started, we had a Zoom account that only one person could use. Because we didn't want to spend the money on anything more. So I really think that you ought to look at something that works for folks without a lot of moving parts.
Warrants to sign. Yeah.
And I run a
Did they already
ISP,
go
I know
around?
how to do
I'm not having,
At this time, yes.
So did those get circulated or no?
I got a pen.
Yes, and you're invited if you'd like to come. Yeah, good.
All right, so our next meeting will be Thursday,
people
October
say.
20th, 7 p.m. here again, and via Google Meet. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Thank you. And all in favor?
It was so nice to
It's
vote. in
unanimous.
person.
Thank you.
water and.
This is not like the old days.
Yeah.